Hello. I don't know about you, but I have heard the term raise your frequency or something similar to that for many years. And for many years, I really didn't have any idea what that term meant. So today I'd like to talk about frequency. What is it? How do we manipulate it? How do we raise it? And what does raising our frequency mean, and what does it do for our daily lives? So, to start out with, I think the best way to begin is to take this image that we have of our body and replace it with an idea of a digital image fiction. Because we are energetic beings put into a physical body. We are the spark of the Creator's light. We are energy in its purest form, but we're encapsulated by this flesh and blood body. I like to think of it as going out into the cold. You bundle up. For myself, I put on like 3 coats, and I've got a sweater and a turtleneck underneath, and I have a headscarf, and I have a scarf that I wrap around my head, and then I have the 2 hoods from my coat. Until you go outside, you kind of like, you can't move. That's kind of the idea behind frequency. We are an energetic frequency contained inside this flesh and blood body. And a lot of times, because we grow up, obviously, in this flesh and blood body, we forget. We're not taught that we are actually energy, and the energy in our body is kind of contained in there. So we forget about it. But in reality, the energy of our being is the most crucial if we're ever going to get anywhere in the world. Now, let's think about that for a minute. I mean, many of us go places and we achieve things, and we can say that we're successful. But when we think about successful people, a lot of times we see their success going up and up and up, and then crash. There's lots of examples. I'm not going to name anybody, but I'm sure if you think about it, you can think of at least 2 or 3 superstar people who came onto the scene and either rose to a peak and then crashed immediately, or maybe they rose steadily over a number of years, and you thought they had it all, but still at the end of the day they've crashed, and they're learning to figure out what their life is really all about. So, as an energetic being, we can feel the vibe of a room. You know how you walk into a room, or you walk into a meeting at work, or you walk into a group of new people, and you can just kind of feel, your body just kind of tells you, there's tension. Or, oh, hey, this is a cool place to be. Or, oh gosh, I just feel so loved and I don't even know these folks. What is that exactly? That is your energetic field reading the room. It isn't science fiction or fantasy, it's real. But we've learned to discount that. You know, that gut feeling that you get about something, or you have this intuition about something, but you ignore it, and then it happens. And then in retrospect, you go, I knew this was going to happen. Why didn't I listen to that little voice in my head that was telling me, put the brakes on? That's our energetic being, our spirit, our essence, whatever you want to call it. That's who we are. And that is where our emotional intelligence comes from. That is where our insights and our perception comes from. So, as an energetic being, as a creature of frequency, we are constantly transmitting into the universe. We transmit, but we also receive. And like any energetic photon or energetic device, we radiate. And the atmosphere or the universe responds to what we're projecting. So as an energetic being, as a spirit of energy, we are constantly doing two things. We're transmitting our frequency out into the universe, and we are receiving what the universe gives back to us, what the universe mirrors. Because the universe mirrors what we are. We've talked about this before. And the universe reflects back to us what we believe about ourselves, what we believe to be true. If we believe that we don't deserve to be happy, guess what? We're probably not going to be happy. If we honestly believe that we do not deserve to be successful or have abundance, our life is probably going to be filled with struggles and challenges that hold us back. This isn't the universe being unkind. This is the universe trying to teach us, hey, I reflect like a mirror the energy that you give me. So if you are constantly radiating positivity, love, joy, compassion, empowerment, forgiveness, trust, those qualities that we consider to be good qualities, the universe is going to reflect that back to you. Now, how can I prove this? Okay, well, let's think about people like Mother Teresa, who the minute she walked into a room or showed up in an area, people were affected just by her being there, just by her presence. And that's because she radiated a frequency that we understand energetically, even if we don't quite get it cognitively. People like Gandhi, people like Martin Luther King Jr., you can think of many examples of people in our life or throughout history who people just naturally responded to, were drawn to because they had a sort of magnetism about them. That word isn't chosen haphazardly. It's magnetism because their frequency, their energetic signal is magnetic. It draws you in because our bodies respond to energy. One way to think about energy and frequency and visualize what I'm talking about is to go to the work of Dr. David Hawkins from the 1980s. He developed a scale that shows us where our frequencies register. So at the bottom of the scale, you have frequencies and energy like hatred, anger, and sadness, and depression, and greed, and cruelty, and sadism. You get it. As we move up the scale, the emotions that we experience rise just like our frequency. So in the middle of the scale, you're going to find altering energies like confusion or even anger, because anger can be constructive. And as you go upwards in the scale to compassion and empathy and love, which is really high, and in other higher levels of enlightenment, you get up to the top of the scale. This helps us to understand where maybe we are and how raising your frequency can shift your emotional mindset and your emotional intelligence. So a scale is an easy way to kind of visualize and digest this notion of being energy. And why should we even care? Why do we want to raise our vibration? Well, because all of those negative emotions that we feel are lower vibrations, and they can get us stuck in the mud, so to speak. They trap us in those lower frequencies, and then it's hard to get out. We've all kind of experienced that. You work with somebody who really brings you down, or you go to school and you hang out with a group of people who really get you in trouble more than they uplift you or make you happy. Even in relationships, a lot of times we repeat our mistakes and we get stuck in the same cycles of relationships because we're stuck in that lower frequency mud. And there are ways to raise your vibration so that you start to experience, or you open your life up to experiencing the higher vibrations, which we all want, such as joy and love and trust and compassion. But how do we get there? How do we make that leap? How do we go from feeling like we're not worthy of achieving the happiness that we want to actually getting there? Well, the first way to start to change your frequency is to realize that you have one. If you live your life in a cocoon and you never come out of that cocoon, you're going to be stuck in that cocoon. So understanding that we are energetic beings, we're not just flesh and blood, but the flesh and blood allows us to live in this reality. And that's a whole other story, living in this reality and learning and growing, which is our purpose. But we need to raise our frequency so we can be happy, so we can achieve the success and the love and the joy in our life that we long to. Why do we long to? Because we're meant to. When we have this pull in a direction, we feel like, I want to be successful, or I want to have love in my life. It's because we're meant to. And the way we get there is by believing that. Parents who teach their children that they can be anything that they want to be if they put their mind to it. It's a great thing to be taught, but we're never really taught how to put our minds to it. So we waste a lot of time. Sometimes we waste most of our life trying to figure out how do we put our mind to it. So today we're going to talk about putting our minds to it, understanding that we are energy and what we can do to begin to raise that frequency of energy so we can achieve the things we want to achieve. So hopefully this is making sense. I want to move ahead now into ways that you can begin to raise your frequency, to shift from living in negativity to living in empowering energy, to step out of the mud and start trudging forward towards the life you want and the success and happiness you do deserve. One of the first and best ways to do this is to practice regulated breathing. Now, that may sound like a strange term. We all breathe. What is regulated breathing? We don't need any special equipment to do this. And you can do it in just a few minutes. And you can do it pretty much anywhere you are. You can do it while you're driving your car or riding the metro or sitting in a meeting at work or first thing in the morning while you're enjoying your coffee. You get it. At some point during your day, you want to take at least 5 minutes. Lunchtime is a great time for me anyway to do this because I'm kind of pausing my work and I just want to refocus and so I try some regulated breathing. And what does that mean? All that means is that you're going to sit comfortably with your hands facing upward because you want to receive. If you sit with your hands facing down, you're closed off. So when you meditate, when you pray, when you recharge and refocus, you want to have your palms facing upward, but they can be on your lap comfortably. And you just want to breathe slow and even and deep. Now, why is regulated breathing helpful? Well, because it sends a signal. When we're sleeping, when we feel safe, when we feel confident, when we're with friends, when we're in a positive frame of mind, we breathe easily. We breathe steadily. We breathe slow and even. So you want to try. You can start by just taking a 3-second breath in and then a 3-second breath out. No pause in between, just breathe. So breathe in, 1, 2, 3. Breathe out, 1, 2, 3. Breathe in, 2, 3, and out, 2, 3. It's like you're dancing. And once you get used to 3 seconds, you can move to 4 and 5. And you want to do this for at least 5 or 10 minutes. Why? Because you want to send a signal that you're safe, you're calm, you're happy, you're relaxed. So by doing this, you're reducing stress in your body, and your body is going to respond by relaxing. And that's the best signal to send to the universe because you're ready to receive. The next exercise that you can do to raise your vibration is to move. We all know that physical activity is good for us. Exercise clears the body of cortisol, which is the stress hormone, which does immeasurable damage to us. But, it just feels good. When you go out for a walk, you come back and you, oh man, I feel great. Or if you love to work out and you want to do a nice hearty workout, you always feel good when you're finished. I don't love to work out, but I love to do Qigong. Qigong is kind of like Tai Chi. It's meditative, it's flowing, it's soothing, and it allows you to release that stress that's building up. It moves your body and it incorporates balance and builds muscle strength and all those things. And you're moving. And if you're moving for 15, 20, 30 minutes an hour, whatever you're able to do, you're doing your body a service. You're physically and empowering and strengthening. You're releasing all those negative energies, because when you work out, you can't really focus on the negative flux that might be in your life. You have to focus on what you're doing. So you're being in the moment. And that's why physical movement of any sort is another way to raise your frequency. You want to get out of the mud? You got to walk out of the mud. The third way that you can raise your vibration is by curating your mental input. What does that mean? That means be careful with what you feed your mind. If you feed your body junk food, guess what? You get fat. Your body responds by becoming less healthy. If you feed your body good nutritional food, it responds by increased vibrancy, increased health. The same can be said for mental stimulus. Imagine scrolling through your phone. We've all done it. And all you see is negativity. People angry about the current regime. People upset about our leaders. People who are complaining or starting arguments. You get it. That sort of negative doom scrolling really brings your energy down. And if you don't believe me, try it. Go on your phone and start doom scrolling. After about 10 minutes, you're going to feel horrible. You're going to be angry. You're going to be frustrated. You're going to be depressed. You're going to be agitated. Those are all low frequency vibrations. And if you want to feel energized and empowered and happy, you need to feed your brain positive mental stimulus. Go to websites that engage with you in a positive way, that feed you positive visual stimulus, that share inspirational quotes, harmonizing suggestions. But it's not just what's on your phone. It's also what you're watching on TV. It's also the people that you hang out with. It's the arguments that maybe you choose not to get involved with. It's the music that you listen to, the movies and the TV shows that you watch. The more you feed your brain with positive, uplifting, high frequencies, the better you're going to feel. The fourth way that you can raise your vibration is by journaling, writing down your feelings. Now, why is writing so helpful? I mean, you go into therapy and they say to journal your thoughts. You go onto almost any website that's trying to help you improve your life. They're going to say start a journal. Why? Well, part of it is just a mind-body connection. When you write something, this has been proven. Like when you're in school, if you take notes, you're writing it, you see it, your hand is moving. There's an actual chemical reaction that happens that takes those thoughts that you're writing down and they move from one part of your brain to another. It helps you to remember, but it also helps you to understand better. And through understanding, releasing. This is why it's so helpful if you're doing any kind of therapy to journal what you're feeling, because it helps you to understand better. It helps you to process. Personally, I love to write poetry. That's my way of releasing my thoughts and feelings and emotions. But as a writer, I'm constantly writing. And so for me, maybe a journal is just mental activity, or maybe for me, it's typing instead of physically handwriting. But when you see something, and especially when you see that written word and then you speak it, your vibration changes and it improves because it allows you time to process and time to be present in that feeling. If you constantly avoid the feeling, you can't heal. You have to get in there and do the work. So through journaling or even just typing, you are able to process those emotions and feelings and experiences that may have been traumatic, may have hit you sideways and thrown you off track, and help you to not become a victim to their triggers. And then one of the best ways to improve your frequency is to choose your community. Whether you're on social media or the friends that you hang out with, even your family, you want to surround yourself with positive input. You want to surround yourself with like-minded people because they help feed you that positive energy. They can uplift you when you're low. And because energy is contagious, because when you walk into a room, you can feel the vibe, and if it's a good vibe, you feel better by becoming involved in communities and organizations and groups that feed you positivity. You are able to take steps forward instead of just staying in the same spot all the time. Now, these are all just very simple ways that you can begin to raise your vibration and shift from being in a drudgery of sameness to moving towards the success and the happiness and the satisfaction with your life that we all truly desire. Now, you might say, that's all well and good, but I ain't got time. Look, none of us have time. You know, if you wait to have a child until you think you're ready, you're never going to have a child. If you wait to get that perfect job because you don't have time to do that research or move in that direction, you're never going to have that perfect job. If you don't have time to invest in your perfect relationship, you're never going to have a perfect relationship. You've got to make time. It has to be a priority. And even if it's just, initially 15 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day, just like exercise, start where you are able to start. It doesn't have to be an hour. It doesn't have to be something momentous, but small steps forward accumulate like a snowball into a snowman. You get the idea. Now, you might say, well, that's all well and good, but, who really cares if I have a higher vibration? How does that change reality for anyone? Well, it changes your reality. And as a result, it changes the community that you live in because energy is contagious. Energy is magnetic, and everything around you reacts and responds to your energy. Think about that for a moment. Everything around you responds to your energy. So, like the Walk for Peace and the monks who taught us, peace begins with us. It's a choice that we make. And if we all make that individual choice to be peace, imagine what a great world we would live in. It's the same with raising your vibration. If we were all just going to focus a little bit more seriously on raising our vibration, on being positive, compassionate, understanding, empowering, imagine how much better this world would be, because we would all be focused on building each other up instead of tearing each other down. This is the prime time to work on this. Our world is a mess. There's more negativity out there than possibly ever before, because not only is our population much larger than it was 100 or even 1,000 years ago, but we're so much more interconnected now. I can know in minutes what's going on the other side of the world through the technology that binds us together. And if we really want to make a true effect on the world around us, if we really want to contribute in a positive way, the best thing that we can do is start with ourselves. Wake up and say, today is my peaceful day. Today, I am going to be happy. And then ask several empowering questions of the universe. How is it that no matter what happens in my life, I remain focused and positive and surrounded by people who love me? Why is it that no matter what happens in my life, I am always surrounded by people who support and uplift me? I'm going to share a bunch of these empowering questions in the comments below, and I'd love to learn, if you have any, what you enjoy saying. I want to finish with just this one thought. Steve Jobs, one of the most successful and richest men in our current history, stood in front of a mirror every morning and asked the universe empowering questions. Not because he was wasting time and not because he was woke or woo-woo, but because he understood that the universe responds to the frequency that we are. I hope this probably longer than expected video has helped you to understand what frequency is and begin to understand how to raise yours so that together we can live in a more peaceful, more harmonious, more uplifting and positive world. Until next time, I'm Morgan on the Coherence Nexus. Bye-bye.